We will start at 2 o'clock. Well, it's 2 o'clock now, so we're going to go and get started. If you will, Jameen, go to the next slide. If you will, add your LEA to the chat. Name and LEA to the chat. Certainly want to ensure that folks are muted if you're not speaking. These, again, just our meeting guidelines. And then if you want to talk, we will have, of course, utilizing the raise the hand feature, and we'll have our Google Doc for folks to add questions to that as well. Okay, and today's a little different than our usual office hours in that today we are really utilizing today's time as an opportunity to do a community of practice meeting. And we have two school districts, Rialto and Redlands, who are both cohort 1 participants as our featured speakers, participants. So we appreciate them. And so today is going to be a little different than just the questions that we providing opportunity just for questions, but it's going to be an opportunity for learning today. Jameen, go to the next slide, please. But I want to start with some quick updates. So I don't know if people have had a chance to hear yet. We haven't sent anything formal to the participants, but the state has allowed for the capacity grant to be extended to June of 2027. Okay, so we have the option to take that extension. And so we are, as a county, we are going to press the button on the extension. And that will allow for another year of the usage of the money and getting rid of the money. Well, not getting rid of it, but spending the money within that year. What we do want to ask or encourage, even just for our county, because again, this is up to us to do it. But I really want to still make sure that we stay on a pace that we've already began, and you really use that last year as an opportunity to really tie loose ends, right? Really taking that approach rather than prolonging everything out and then hustling and bustling. Because one of the things that as we was talking to the state, one of my concerns was just that last year people get tired, the smoke is out of the barbecue pit, and people, it's harder to get people to engage. And so if we can really keep our momentum in those first 2 years, these front years of 25 and 26, then 27 really be that tying of the ends. That's just what I want to encourage. But again, you have the time to implement your plan for that year. So that's the most updated information. As you see on the slide here, we will have to amend those MOUs that we sent out, but we don't want to amend them right now because we want to make sure the state has made all of their decisions. And when we amend that MOU that you guys are getting signed or already have signed, that we are only doing it one time. So I'm working with our business department to make sure that we get all of the information needed to do that. Okay, so continue with the process of the MOU. Okay, continue with that. I'm sure, Elizabeth, you have a question. Go ahead and ask your question around this.
So we've sent our MOU to be reviewed before it goes to board. Should we pull it and then wait until we have the new one, or just go ahead and go to board with what we have right now?
Go to board, because the only thing that's going to be different is going to be the add-on of the progress reports. So it won't change the money. It won't change most of those timelines. It's going to be an extension to the last year of reporting. Is really going to be the change. Okay, so that's why we didn't want to pull them for you guys because I know it's just getting on board docs and getting the sign is going to be was tough anyway. Go, Elizabeth. I see you're going to say something else.
No, I'm just gonna say thank you. That's good to hear.
Okay, yeah, and I hope this help everyone. Everyone is good with this. Next slide, Jameen. So this is the picture of what that new modified timeline looks like. Okay, and again, we'll send these slides are in the live binder, but this will also be we will send something formal after tomorrow's meeting. We have an office hour with the state. So once we get some more guidance and hear a little more detail, we'll send something formal to the point of contact for the grant with these dates and just some information that you guys can share with your leadership or with your teams that are doing this work. Okay, so we'll send something formal to you all tomorrow for that. Okay, so this is just a look of the new timeline with the year extension. And again, this is what will really be the change in the MOU. Okay, next slide, Jameen. So again, as I said, today we're not doing office hours. We're really going to do a community of practice opportunity. Okay, we'll take note to that. We wanted to make sure that as we are moving forward in this grant program, that we are all understanding the goal of it. And the goal of it really is to utilize the capacity grant funds to prepare our LEAs and your LEA to be able to utilize the multi-payer fee schedule. So we have Rialto and Redlands. Next slide, Jameen. We have Rialto and Redlands who are already in cohort 1, who are positioned through their programming and the things that they have developed in their district to really utilize the capacity grant monies as an opportunity to extend what they are already doing, because they are already set and their systems are already set to actually utilize the multi-payer fee schedule. So I wanted to show you guys this slide of, again, on the right, the capacity grant allocation. We've been working around the capacity grant, but your ultimate goal is to utilize the fee schedule. Okay, and the fee schedule is what we are really looking at as one of the sustainability mechanisms for the services that you are already providing to your general ed students. So if districts and LEAs are already providing behavioral health services to students, and you are, in a sense, fitting that bill, the multi-payer fee schedule is an opportunity to help recoup some of those funds. And the capacity grant money is your opportunity to build the infrastructure to utilize that at some point. Okay, next slide, Jameen. So again, when we're talking about the fee schedule, really looking to three goals in the fee schedule. One is to increase the access to school-linked behavioral health services for youth, and this is the state's goal for it. And then the second goal is to create a more approachable billing model. So again, this is going to be much different than LEA BOP. And the folks who aren't in the Medi-Cal programs, the LEA BOP is one of the Medi-Cal programs that districts utilize to reimburse services that they provide to Medi-Cal students with IEPs. Okay, and then also lastly, reducing uncertainty around student coverage. So again, maintaining services, ensuring that our students have access to services is really the goal of the fee schedule. So again, the capacity grant is building the muscle so that you can utilize the fee schedule. Next slide. So in the CYBHI fee schedule, defining the scope of services, and we have the services, the scope of service is in the live binder. That's another document that you guys can really look at. Looking at those billable codes, what are the services that are that can be provided and can be billed, and what rate that is, what rate that can be done at. Okay, and then who can provide the specific services. So that's what we are looking at through the capacity grant funds. You really want to start building your infrastructure to accomplish these 3 things, right? Finding what services you're already doing that can be billable, right? Understanding what those codes are, what those rates are for those services that you are already doing, or you want to, or you intend to do, and then specifying those provider types. And provider types being, is it going to be your school counselor, just your psychologist, or will it be associates? Is it licensed therapist? Again, that's all contextual to your LEA. Okay. Next slide. And then here's just another picture of how this is different than LEA BOP. Again, if there's maybe some LEAs in the room or districts who are not participating in LEA BOP or any of the Medi-Cal programs, but more to come on that. We'll do some more training on that. I want to just level the playing field. And as we talk to Rialto there in Redlands, there's just an understanding of what we're talking about today. And LEA BOP, again, is one of the state's reimbursement methodologies, right? And it's really, the reimbursement method is based around an annual report, where the fee schedule is going to be a methodology where it's fee for service, right? You provide a service to a student, they pay for that service, okay? And then the state has a third-party administrator who will transmit all the claims. And again, we'll talk to Redlands and Rialto. You can hear more about this to understand this better. Again, I just wanted to give you some quick baseline information on the difference in the fee schedule and the capacity grant, okay? Next slide. This is, again, a picture of how this could look or will look, right? And so here it is in blue to the left, the LEA or the district providers, right? You provide a service, that information is going to be sent to the third-party administrator, which is Carelon, right? So that information will be sent to Carelon, and then the Carelon will chase the money from the commercial insurance and send it back to the payer, right? Send the information to the payer, and then the payer send the money back to us. Okay, so that's what the payer is, right? So the payers being those commercial insurers, Blue Shield, those different providers, okay? So this is how it would work. So right now, everyone in the room, we are really living at that LEA provider level, right? The capacity grant is really building the infrastructure for that LEA provider piece, right? So this is where we really want to focus our capacity grant on, so that we can then put ourselves in a position to send claims through the third-party administrator. That third-party administrator will send the information to the different payers, and then we can get reimbursed. That's, again, this is just a high-level picture of the process and where we're trying to go. But again, at the capacity grant, we're really building this LEA's provider square is really what we're focusing on in capacity grant, okay? Next slide. So what I'm going to do now is I'm gonna ask Redlands and Rialto to, Rialto, I'll start with you, introducing yourselves to the group, your roles and your position in this work thus far. Cecilia and Sylvia.
I'll go first. I'm Cecilia Gutierrez. I'm coordinator for health services. I've been in the district about going on 25 years. I oversee the RNs, the registered nurses in the school, and the LVNs, the licensed vocational nurses. So we are participating in cohort 1. We have the Medi-Cal SMA program, and we also have RMTS, and we've built that. And I'm gonna let go ahead, Sylvia go. She participates in SB-HIP and all the other programs.
Yeah. Hi, thank you. My name is Sylvia Reed Drake. I'm a student success specialist and a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been in the school district for 2 years. I've worked in other capacity outside, and that's including with CBOs. I've worked at the county. I've worked in some private practice, and I've had some experience in working with our other grant, SB-HIP. And so I am the secondary contact for all the grant work that we're doing under CYBHI.
Thank you. And then Redlands, will you please introduce yourselves?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rachel Malatesta. I'm the Director of Behavioral and Mental Health here in Redlands Unified. And with me is...
Hi, everyone. My name is Marissa Butcher. I'm a coordinator behavior analyst. I support all of our general education, behavior, and mental health supports.
Thank you. And Redlands, Rachel and Marissa, what I'll ask you guys just to talk about your current programming, your services that are provided to your students in Redlands, and who provides services. Just give us a little context of Redlands and the program that you guys have there.
Absolutely. So we started this work in Redlands just about 5 years ago, or just right before COVID. We were lucky enough to expand. At the time, I was in school improvement and working on LCAPs and supporting PBIS and school plans. And we noticed that we had a lot of behavioral needs that required some additional intervention on our school sites. And so we were had some conversations with cabinet and talked about bringing on like a mirror department to special education, right? But that would service all students with general education. And so at the time, we pitched this idea, and we were fortunate to be supported, and we were able to bring on Marissa as a general education BCBA. So 2 program specialists into our office with some expertise in mental health and school counseling, as well as a team of behavior technicians that could be out at the school sites providing direct support, training, and equipping our school staff in supporting students with behavioral needs. You know, fast forward into COVID, and we really saw, wow, we need to expand that to social emotional learning. We started connecting more with school counselors, and then started the work to bring on a mental health team that would, again, mirror some of the supports that up until that point had only been available to our special education students. So we started small with just a couple of associate clinicians and have built our way up to a team of 10 associate clinicians with a licensed supervisor that supports that team from our office. So all of those programs within our department have like a mirror program in our special education department. So Marissa works in tandem with our special education BCBA and that team of behavior technicians, as well as our special education LCSW and the school psychologists who provide direct earn services for our special education students. And in collaboration, our 2 departments work together to make sure that we are providing comprehensive behavioral and mental health supports to all the students in Redlands.
Great. Oh, thank you. Great. Really robust. Rialto, will you please share just your programming and the systems you have in place?
Okay, so ours is set up a little differently. Obviously, we have SPED services, and we've just started to move a couple of members in the SPED service side to service Gen Ed service side, because much like what Redlands just communicated, the behavior, we're starting to see just such a increase in behavior. We also have safety intervention officers who've been trained in a lot of evidence-based practices. And so they're supporting the sites in regards to mentoring and also providing groups to a lot of students for drug and alcohol decision-making, anger management, things of that nature. They're doing a lot of restorative circles. And then we have, obviously, we lean on our counselors to provide support. We have wellness coaches, we have therapeutic behavioral health staff strategists, and they are TBS. So they also work a lot with the SEL and providing groups and presentations in classrooms. And so they handle some of the tier 2, a lot of the tier 2, and then tier 1 support. Who else am I missing? Oh yeah, those are our BCBAs that's coming over from Gen Ed services. So BCBAs are starting to come over to Gen Ed to support. We haven't gotten to the point where our EHTs are coming over just yet. This is an area that we want to explore because we only have 5 of them, so we have to expand on that. So when we look at the staff that we want to bring on board with the multi-peer fee schedule, we're looking at roughly 90 plus staff. But now we need to streamline it, which staff will stay with SPED services and which staff can come over to the multi-peer fee schedule to support Gen Ed students, or all the students for that matter.
And Rialto, with your systems and where you guys were, talk to us just about the your thoughts or your thinking of entering into cohort, of being a part of the fee schedule cohorts.
Oh, we was already participating in SBHIP, Student Behavioral Health Intervention Plan. And then in just looking at all the services that we were providing on campus, and then listening to what was coming on board with the multi-payer fee schedule, go, oh, we already have staff doing this work. So we already have systems in place. So why not, go ahead and apply for this to expand it, be able to be reimbursed for documentation to create something even more robust.
Yeah, good. And Redlin, same question for you. Your thoughts and thinking to enter and participate in cohort 1. What was your thinking, Rachel, in leading that?
So we are not an SBHIP district. We were practically begging to be a part of cohort 1. Having come from the school improvement world, I kind of knew what the fiscal forecast looked like and knew that we would be coming up against some tough decisions in coming years about continuing to fund and support school counseling positions and mental health positions, specifically in the general education world where it's not required by an IEP to be provided. And so we were very eager to join cohort 1 because we saw this as a sustainable funding source to ensure that our students could continue to get access to these important services without having to qualify for special education as their only means of access. And so for us, we were coming to the county, knocking on the door. Will you support us? Can you help us move this process forward? And really starting very early with conversations with our cabinet, with our school board, with our school counselors on how we could work together to move this forward and ensure continued successful programs and supports for students.
Right. Jameen, please go to the next slide. That'll give me the question. And so, Redlin, since I have your mic open, what is your district's current motto for, so we kind of talked about this your motto, but again, for folks who are not privy to some of this or already doing some of this, you talked about the 10 associates, you talked about the 1 supervisor, you talked about some of the behavior folks. Give us a little more detail about how this got put into place and what it took to do this on the general ed side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so it all starts with tier 1, right? That's what everybody says at every training and webinar like this, right? So really, we start with our classroom lessons for social emotional learning. We're a second step district for TK5. We use Character Strong for grades 6 through 12. So really starting with strong PBIS systems. Every school is a PBIS school. Every school is implementing SEL strategies, greeting kids at the door, and just doing some of those just really basic things that can help establish positive relationships with our students. But from there, really working to train up, and we've partnered with Hatching Results for several years to improve our school-based counseling programs into a truly ASCA-aligned K-12 comprehensive program. So we use Character Strong K-12 for our tier 2 and tier 3 curriculum, and our school-based counselors, our mental health teams, school psychologists, SLPs have the opportunity to access that curriculum and provide small groups and one-on-one supports for students at that tier 2 and tier 3 level, just as part of our general school MTSS systems. And then certainly when our school sites see that there's a need for additional support, then there's a cost process that they utilize at their school sites, a coordination of services team that looks at data and already attempted strategies and interventions at the school site. And if additional resources are needed, they put in a referral or request for assistance for someone from our teams, whether it's behavioral health or mental health, to come out and consult and do observations and be a part of the team to strategize supports. Both with our behavior team and our mental health team, that can look like a variety of things depending on the needs of the students. There's an intake process. We have pre and post data that we utilize and, you know, to monitor progress over that time period. And sometimes, you know, we see great success. There are times, of course, but then we partner with our special education teams where we see like maybe this is going to dip over. And the beauty of working together is Marissa's already had conversations with our special ed BCBA. We collect data the same way. We utilize the same data points. And so we can do that smooth handoff to them to see, you know, if to move that process forward, if special education services are something to be explored. And then we have strong partnerships with several of our community agencies. So if we find students that are in our mental health team world that maybe the need is greater than what we can explore in a school-based model, or is going to be ongoing and is going to require a lot of missed class time that we you know, we need to balance, then we have case management model with our local agencies where we can do referrals out. And through generous LCAP funding, even support the payment of those services for students that don't have insurance or are on long wait lists for insurance providers. So as a team, we've worked together to try to make sure we're not losing students anywhere along the way, and that there's a place for all of them within our district-wide success model.
Thank you, Redlands. Rialto, really, again, giving us just a little deeper insight into your current delivery of behavioral mental health services programming for your students. Who's providing those services? Are the services centralized, or are they at sites? Just some of those kind of questions that folks might want to, as they're looking at their systems to build.
Yes, I mean, much like what you've already heard, we start with our PBIS system, right? The tier 1 support. And so we want to strengthen that with the different SELs. And when we learn that that's not working, it goes through our PBIS teams who look at data and discern which students need additional support. And then they start to identify interventions. May those be school site tier 2 interventions that's been facilitated by the staff on site, or tier 2 interventions that's now being facilitated by other staff, meaning that may be the safety intervention officers, it may be our TBS, therapeutic behavioral health strategists, it may be our ABAs, or even level up to tier 3 support. And then unlike Redlands, we don't have mental health clinicians that's providing mental health services to gen ed students who do not have an IEP. And so we rely heavily on our CBOs, our contracted partners, to come in and provide that tier 3 support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, in Rialto, Jameen, go to the next question. How did you talk to the this group about the importance of bringing in all of the decision makers to involve them in the work around CYBHI? You know, of course, the fee schedule, the cohorts, the capacity grant. Just talk to us about your process of involving, if you involved your leadership and your decision makers in a committee or something. Talk to us about that process.
Well, it's been a long road. So like I said, we started in the SB HIP vein work stream. And so as we elevated up and started to entertain multi-payer fee schedule, we wanted to make sure that our leaders understood what it was that we wanted to engage in and how beneficial it would be for our district. So one of the things, I met with the assistant superintendent, and it was just she and I, and having a discussion and kind of having a brainstorming session on how this can benefit our district, and then where to go, what's the next step, right? So we started to identify other lead agents that we were going to bring in the room. Cecilia being an expert in LEA BOP and understanding that system, we wanted to bring in and hold a comparison of what we were talking about bringing on board, and also highlight to them the already staff that we have providing these services and what that could look like. Well, that was just the introduction of it, right? We wanted to kind of just prime them. This is something that we're looking at. These are the work streams. We would do like little tests with them. And then from there, Cecilia and I just hit the ground and making individual meetings with them. So a lot of meetings over a period of time, and just being able to just have that one-to-one meeting with them, for them to ask any questions and for them to understand how we feel their role is important in their staff. Because our staff is not so much centralized all in one area. Our staff is under different service areas. So we need to pull all those service areas together. From there, once we met with everyone, they understood, okay, this is a real thing, it's happening. And they're going to meetings and they're starting to hear the language and refer people back to us. And so we developed a committee. The committee was comprised of all those lead agents, and we brought in staff from different service areas that was actually engaged in doing the work, right?
Yeah. And Sylvia, will you talk about, while you're there, will you talk about what divisions, branches, lead agents, whatever the terminology is, what did IT, human resources, who was involved in that committee? What areas were in that committee, if you can remember?
Yeah, so we had counseling. Well, I was representing health services, special services. We had IT. We actually had enrollment come out too to discuss the health insurance information that we were obtaining. We also had PBIS.
Someone from the PBIS team, someone from the intervention safety officers team, lead agents over that.
Business services, also fiscal services,
HR.
Yeah, personnel, and then also we had risk management come in as well.
Okay. And I want to thank you for sharing that, because I really wanted to lift that up to the folks in the room. Just as you are planning and working in the capacity grant, considering the people that you want to bring to the table. So Rialto, thank you for that. Redlands, same question to you. Was there a committee? What was your approach to bringing in different divisions and groups into your discussion around the fee schedule and the capacity grant?
So, I mean, originally, I think the work and the conversations just started kind of evolved naturally in the work that I was doing, because at the time I was also writing our district's LCAP. So I was in the room with a lot of conversations with cabinet and key department leads and things. And as we're making difficult decisions about what stays and what goes in the LCAP, it was an opportunity for me time and time again to say, we really should look at this CYBHI. Like, this is an opportunity for us to not even have to have this on the table as a potential cut or rejection of services for students. If we can create a sustainable funding source and really beef up, we're a district that doesn't have an incredibly high Medi-Cal eligibility, right? So CYBHI is made for a district like us, right? Where we might recoup 50, somewhere between 50 and 60% of our students through Medi-Cal, and that just leaves so many students on the table that we could be being reimbursed through managed care plans. And so those repeated conversations in those rooms in LCAP development, I think, is what really sort of got us the green light, and honestly is what created our department, because at the time we were connected school improvement incorporated all of our work, although on a much smaller scale. We were a smaller team at the time. Now that it's its own separate behavioral mental health department, that in and of itself has become our committee. There is a lead for behavioral health. There's a lead for mental health. There's a lead for school counseling, all within our one department within the Ed Services division. But I think what we've done in terms of connecting with the other players on the board was we got ourselves invited to the LEA, the collaborative that was doing all of the work with LEA BOP. And when the law changed and counselors were able to start billing, it was like January of last year, we did the work to start ensuring that our teams were part of Medi-Cal billing, right? So our contributions were on the LEA BOP paperwork as it was coming in, reimbursements. And so as we developed relationships with the other members of the LEA collaborative, which was health services and student services, and our fiscal department and risk management and special education, because they all have a seat on our LEA collaborative, that's where we were able to come and bring ideas, because a lot of what's in CYBHI, we sort of knew this would happen, and it's what has happened. Really mimics what we see with Medi-Cal and LEA BOP. So having those programs run similarly, it has, I think, made the development of the program and the palatability of it for our new practitioners, to be like, because it was different for counseling, but it's easier for them to check in with their school psychologist counterpart and say, well, tell me what you're doing for billing. Oh, you've been doing that forever? Oh, okay, well, that's not so bad. And so the partnerships with our LEA collaborative, instead of treating it like something different, we treated it as if it was just an extension of our existing reimbursement programs.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Thank you for that. Go to the next slide, and I'm gonna open it up for questions. I already see Mr. Skinner had a question, but the last question for both of the districts that I have is really, we want to start the conversation early with our participating LEAs on the importance of collecting health insurance information. And you guys are in cohort 1, so you guys have already been doing this, but we wanted to lift up in my last question really just the challenges, the grows and glows of collecting health insurance, right? And I'll set context in that districts are going to be asked to really collect health insurance information from our families to actually utilize the fee schedule, right? So we really want to bring this to our districts and our participating LEAs early, so you guys can start to think how we can do this. And this should really be something that we should do as a county to really develop that language and the marketing around this. But Redlands, just to you all, what has been the process of getting health insurance information and just the impact of that in your district thus far?
So we did put everything in place in order to start this process for this school year. And I'll be very transparent and say in the end, we did not do it because we don't have an assigned PPA or DUA. Like, the paperwork isn't finished yet with Carillon, so we didn't actually launch it. But we did the work to be ready for it, which did involve some partnership with Enrollment Center, right? And updating enrollment forms so that we could capture that health information and have the explanation of why we were doing so, and then made the updates within our student system. We're an Aries district, so our parents yearly, all 20,000 of them, go through a data confirmation process in the first couple of weeks right before school and into the first week of school, confirming health information and contacts and things. Medi-Cal billing has always been a question that they have answered as part of that process, and so we updated that statement to say Medi-Cal and other managed care plans so that we could gather that consent all at one time and have parents see that it's the same as Medi-Cal billing. And then built in what would have been like a new field for us in terms of capturing information for their specific other managed healthcare plans other than Medi-Cal. Certainly there was a media campaign that we had put together in order to share with the community about why we were gathering that information. We don't have 100% consent for Medi-Cal. We knew we would not have 100% consent for all the other managed care plans either. Knowing that it's a process in terms of trust building for families to understand what that means and how it doesn't affect your health coverage or penalize you in any way. But in addition, knowing we wouldn't get probably a high percentage this first time out, it's also built into our intake process for every student as something that we verify. And if they haven't given consent, that we ask again as we're doing that intake process to provide individual support. So we have that opportunity to better explain to parents in person, just one student and family at a time, about why we're collecting that information, what that means for us as a district in terms of state reimbursement, and how it ensures the longevity and continued success of that programming for all of our families in Redlands if they do consent for us to bill for reimbursement.
Oh, that's good. Now, in Rialto, same question to you. What has the process been for you collecting health insurance and talking to your community about the need for this?
Yes. Yes, because we were already dealing with SB Help, and this question that came about in our relationship with one of the managed care plans, IHP, we had already started to prepare to ask the question. Much like what you've heard, we've also collect information, medical information on the enrollment form, but we wanted to modify it to ask for private insurance and things of that nature. Our enrollment center put a blurb together, basically advising the families this was information that we could possibly use to better service the students, knowing that we were going to come back and have a whole different kind of campaign. Right now, it was just a matter of collecting the information, not sharing out the information, not asking for consent to provide the service, just wanted to have a baseline of what kind of information we would receive. And so to our surprise, we had 23,000 people enrolled, over 23,000, and probably like 85% answered the insurance information. We didn't have it mandatory because we didn't want it to stop enrollment. This was something, enrollment was going to happen. We partnered with IT, our enrollment center and IT partnered and put the questions onto the enrollment packet and just giving, priming again, the families, this is coming, right? And so what we learned in looking at the data, we may have some blanks, we may have where it asked for the insurance company name, they may have put a number or things of that nature. So we understand that we have to have a staff that actually goes through that information to make sure we're obtaining the correct information when we want to provide services. I know we talked about DHCS coming out with a campaign to help us communicate this to the community. We've also been working with the managed care plans to also partner with us to communicate this to the community.
Oh, that's great. And when we're talking about, for folks who don't know, when we're talking about the managed care plans, we're really talking about our county's managed care plans are IHP, Molina, and Kaiser now. So that language was new for me as a school guy. I didn't necessarily know that stuff. So I just want to make sure to bring everybody up to speed to that. So I'm going to open it up for questions. And we had a question from Mr. Skinner just asking both Redlands and Rialto, by utilizing the CYBHI implementation funds, and I'm assuming he's talking about the capacity grant funds, what additional positions and or supports are you now being able to use due to the billing, direct billing, that you were not able to? Does that make sense?
I think one of the big things that we want to be able to get to is our current mental health team. They're currently hourly substitute positions. So we would like to get to a point where we can potentially make them contract positions, even if they're temporary. We also want to work to build in some wellness coach positions. And then we also know that we're going to need some additional support in terms of administrative support for billing and things like that. That part is a big lift. Anything else?
We do have 1 or 2 school sites left at the secondary, and probably more than half of our elementary that don't have dedicated confidential space for clinician and behavioral health services. So there are some infrastructure things there too that we know we're still having to work on, whether that's creating shared space or schedules, but also just making sure that our mental health team have doors that they can actually have confidential conversations with students in across all of our school sites.
And Rialto, what about you?
For us, we want to expand elementary school counselor support. We have 19 elementary schools. We have 5 counselors to service all 19. So looking to provide further support and sustaining the 5 that we have and adding on an additional, and then extending the FTEs of an administrative staff to help support us in the billing aspect.
That's good. Madhua, are there any questions in the chart? I mean, on the Google form that we want to ask Rialto or Redlands?
Yeah, we have a few actually. So one of the most common questions that's being asked in the Google form is, Rialto and Redlands, have you started billing?
nobody has started billing to my
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah,
No, we have not.
yeah, they're still in the process statewide with all of cohort one and collecting the kind of finalized data use agreements. And once those are collected, then we can upload our practitioner lists, which all require NPI numbers for all of our school counselors, which we're still I think we're probably about 80% there with our school counselors, but there's still some work there to collect those national provider identification numbers. And so once those final things are in place, then we could start submitting claims for reimbursement.
And right now, yeah, the state, no one in the state is sending claims, cohort one. They are going to be able to do some back claiming from July for services that are provided from July. So the state is going to be allowing that, but thus far, the state is still trying to figure out how to make this all happen. And so they being Redlands and Rialto have been in cohort one since July of 23, I believe, right? I think it started in July of 23 and they have yet to reimburse. So we're still waiting on that opportunity, but they are going to be able to do some back claims for that. What next question?
Another common question that we have in the Google form is, did you find that families were willing to provide their student health information? What percentage of the families? What are some concerns or pushback that you have experienced from families regarding the collection of student information?
I can jump in there. In working with the enrollment center and IT, the enrollment supervisor says she received no pushback. We have about 75% of the families reporting some insurance information. Remember, I communicated some of it may not be clear information. We don't know how accurate the information is, but information was reported.
Now, Sylvia, are families aware, and I think you said this already, but I want to make sure to clarify, are families aware that part of that collection of the information is so that so you guys can bill that insurance later for services?
No, I don't think we explained it like that. We explained that it was to support behavioral health services for their students.
Yeah.
As we work on what that language will be in rolling this out.
Yes. Redlands, what about you? You guys haven't pushed it out yet, so
Yeah,
that kind of answers it for you.
We didn't push it out, but I'm going to be really honest. Of course, we're expecting some pushback. You know, I mean, I literally was like ready to stand and applaud for Rialto that they got that kind of that feedback just from their initial rollout. Again, accuracy aside, just the participation is ridiculously impressive. And so with that, you know, we know we're going to need, you know, a very strategic marketing plan to help educate our families in what this is for. You know, it's something that we'll work from school board on down to make sure that our families are aware. And even with the most clear marketing plan, we still know there will be some that this won't be something they're comfortable with. We know it's going to be years worth of trust building with our community, and for them to see us doing this work and keeping these positions in place for them to know that it's worth marking I consent on that form so that their students do have access to school counselors and mental health clinicians and a behavioral health team.
No, that's absolutely right. And thank you for that. And one of the things that I'm hoping that we can do in this work that we are all doing together is actually develop that language together, right? It's almost like taking a county approach to this, utilizing our superintendent's network, right? Our county superintendent has a superintendent network, and really making sure that we are utilizing that network as a means to get this information across our whole county. So it's not just a one lift for each individual district. And we know your context is your context, but if we can get this information out countywide, it would be huge in the battle that you LEAs are going to be doing with your individual communities. Jessica, you had a question around just how Rialto and Redlands, how you guys are funding your current services right now, right, without the reimbursement. How are you guys doing that currently?
So the majority of our work, and I'm feeling super blessed now, the more that we get, and, we hear from others, like we have elementary counselors at every elementary school. Many of our elementary schools have 2 counselors. For all of our secondary schools have multiple counselors, a full-time clinician that's assigned to their site. And that is almost all primarily coming from LCAP funds at this time. Our second elementary counselors is being funded from ELOP funds. And so that those counselors work a 9 to 5 day as opposed to a traditional school day. So their LCAP funded counselor works the traditional school day. Their ELOP funded counselors are coming in a little later and working through the end of the ELP day offering. I think that has been really huge for us at elementary because it's allowing us to offer a lot of our services, small groups and individual services after school. And so we're pulling a lot less kids from class during the school day, and our elementary counselors are able to be supporting more with classroom lessons and then recess and lunch, alternative recess type activities during the school day, because we can provide a lot of our direct service for those ELOP funded schools after the final bell rings.
Oh, that's very strategic. That's cool. Rialto?
I'm gonna explain this in my limited knowledge since
Yeah.
Celia is gone. But I know a lot of the staff is funded with LCAP funding, and then we obviously have LEA BOP. This is a part of our system of services, and so the reimbursement for documentation has been huge with the multi-year fee schedule. But outside of LEA BOP, it's the LCAP funds.
Thank you. Madwa, any other questions in the?
Yeah, so we have another question. What were the challenges you experienced in bringing key district stakeholders to the table, and how did you work through them? And this is for Redlands or Rialto.
The challenges, trying to explain something that was very complicated for us as an LEA district. You're trying to explain something that is typically a process outside of a school district, and the language is not matching, right? So I'm talking about behavioral health and all the language, managed care plans and things of that nature to school districts who don't quite understand that language. That's trying to find a way to convert it, and then also help the state convert it. And then that was the largest challenge. I think everyone just understanding what are we actually saying right now? We understand there's a huge chunk of money that can support our students. We all get that. But how do we plan on doing this? We're talking about HIPAA and FERPA, trying to get a understanding around that, trying to get guidance from the state and from the third party administrator, and being able to package this in a way that we can sell it to our teams where it's not something that's so cumbersome. Hey, we're already doing the work. It's complex, but we can do it, right? And so that was the largest challenge. So basically attending all the meetings, having multiple conversations with people where they start to get comfortable with the language, and then having a lot of questions with James and Mara, as well as the state and Caroline.
And Redlands, anything you want to add to that?
I certainly concur. I mean, the first 6 to 7 months of working with DHCS and school, it was just 2 separate languages happening, and all the next cohorts after this will have the benefit
So
of
lucky.
Those conversations now have already happened as we've brought the clinical world and the school-based world together, so we can all talk one language. Separate from that, I think maybe the biggest hiccup for us, and it's still something that we're working through, has been bringing our school-based counselors. And again, a lot of them have been absolutely fine with it, but we do have some, that have just really, taken that much more coaxing and explaining and time and trust building to understand the need for the NPI number. And so, really equating that to like your credential number, right? You wouldn't give parent your social security number, you're going to give them your credential information, right? And how that works, but it's a very private practice world kind of thing in terms of counseling, and so it's continued to take a lot of conversations and reassurance. So that's a conversation that I would say I would start early. The health insurance gathering information, documentation conversations about where you're putting it. We use Paradigm. Rialto uses Practical, like where that's going to go, and then getting started with those NPI numbers. Those are the things that I think, will take a good year worth of conversations to be ready for next school year.
And when we're saying the NPI numbers, and again, we can take some of this translation, this space that we have on these Thursdays can be an opportunity for us to educate and bring some of that language translation in, because again, when we're saying that NPI, very technical language, very different than education, right? That national provider identifier is really each provider, therapist, counselor has got to have a number in order to reimburse for that. And that's different. I was a school counselor. We didn't have to have that to see kids and to concern ourselves with that. And that's going to be something that might bring up unions and things like that. So we want to really begin to start having those conversations as well. We're gonna do one more question, and then the questions that we do have in there, we'll ask Rialto and Redlands to give us some answers, and we'll send those answers out. Elizabeth, I see your hand up, and we'll go with your question, then we'll close it out. We'll get those.
Yeah, my question was regarding the NPI numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I was not aware that we were going to have to do that for each practitioner that was participating in CYBHI.
Mm-hmm.
So now I know that's something I need to collect now. So it's only those that will be billing CYBHI, and it can't be our own school's NPI, right? It has to be individual ones.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah. So So again, each of the providers, the CY, if you're going to be utilizing the fee schedule, if they're going to be reimbursing or sending claims to the fee schedule, they will need to have an NPI number as if they were in a community-based organization, therapy clinic, right? And that person would have a specific identifier. So it won't be your district's NPI number. So your district has an organizational NPI, and then each of the providers will have their own individual NPI. And again, these are things that we really want to bring forward as you're looking at your implementation plan. You're looking at how to utilize these funds. We want to make sure we're bringing these kind of conversations. And again, as you're looking at your implementation plan, it can be updated. So as you're getting more familiar with some of these things, really looking at how you can start to utilize these funds to make impact at that level, okay? On the level of addressing these things to one day utilize the fee schedule. Again, that's what the funds for the capacity grant are really for, so that one day you can utilize the fee schedule and reimburse for the services that you intend or that you are currently providing to students. So we're gonna close it out to make sure that we honor everyone's time. We have more questions in the Google Doc, and so what I'm going to do is ask Rialto and Redlands to kind of look at those questions, maybe draft some for us so that we can answer those questions, and we'll send them out with the notes from today, or the live binder and all the documents from today's meeting. I hope you guys all were able to gain some insight and gain something from today's community of practice. We certainly want to have more opportunity for learning. As we get less questions for the capacity grant, maybe more of our Thursdays can be utilized for opportunities like this for learning. If this is where you guys see more value, we certainly we can make it more about this. We have a lot of districts who are doing a lot of great work. Rialto, Upland, Redlands, Colton, OMSD, San Bernardino, these districts are already geared up. They're part of the cohort 2s and 1s and 2s. So we certainly got people in our county who are already in place. So we can tap into those folks and really bring more insight. So I appreciate the time for you all that you guys have allowed for us to work together today. Please, if you have questions, concerns, there's the email, send it out to us and we'll make sure to reach back out to you. We'll stay on if there's any general questions that come up. But